Let's talk about the week, because this week felt like a political fever dream. The State of the Union from President Donald Trump was widely described as combative and highly theatrical, a speech that was built more around message and presence than traditional bipartisan policy framing, using people as props like the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team. And then you had Patel showing up in an Olympic locker room, in the hockey team's locker room, the men's locker room, a moment that sparked its own round of headlines. And then New York was hit with a huge snowstorm, a nor'easter that just added to the sense of unpredictability, chaos outside, chaos inside. And hovering over all of this was the bigger story, the ongoing struggle over power, narrative, and influence. I'm talking about in the media. It was a big week for that. This wasn't just a busy week, it was a pressure week. Let's talk about it. Misconduct in public office. If there's any administration or regime here in the United States that is deserving of misconduct in public office charges, that would be this lawless administration. Now, over in the UK, this carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. Official guidance to British prosecutors say that the offense is committed when a public officer, such as an elected politician or a government official, willfully neglects to perform their duty or willfully misconducts themselves in a way that abuses the public trust. Well, you know, they are still, if sources on the ground there, and the reporting is that they're still rounding up people. They're still being brutal. It's just that they're not spraying protesters with pepper spray as much, and the crowds aren't being drawn, but they're still violating people's due process rights. And this whole thing of them pulling out of Minnesota is kind of a head fake, and also to improve those numbers that I just read to you. Do you think selfishly for them, that's what it is?
Yeah, I think they were reacting to the polls, but it shouldn't take a terrible poll to get you to simply follow the law. Simply respect the fact that if you're going to bust into someone's home, you need a judicial warrant. That you don't detain American citizens. That this is a really low bar that we're here right now, that we have a White House that is so disrespectful of the courts and our laws.
If they want to talk to the most powerful people in the world who had connections to Jeffrey Epstein, then why are we talking to Hillary Clinton today and not Donald Trump and Melania Trump?
Look, I want to be intellectually, morally, and legally consistent always, right? That's the goal. And I do think that if there is a lawfully issued congressional subpoena, that people need to either comply or legally fight those subpoenas.
100%.
I think in this instance, because remember, we lost our shit when Jim Jordan wouldn't comply, when Steve Bannon didn't comply, when Peter Navarro didn't comply, right? Now, I want to just footnote for a second here, though. You really want to talk to people that have some basis of knowledge, then why are they talking to Steve Bannon, who is all over the Epstein files, who had this—
Or Howard Lutnick.
Exactly. These are the people that if you were building a case, right, you want to talk to everybody, even if you don't think they have something of value. But why are we wasting our time with the Clintons? Now, I will say this, though. I think there is nothing lost by having them answer questions, and really more Bill than Hillary, right? But you know what I have a problem with, Don? When they're offering to put themselves up in front of the full House committee in a public hearing, why would you not take advantage of that? And I think that is a big red flag that Comer and others, specifically the Republicans, that they're really in more for the theater of it than they are from the legal and investigative quality of this time with the Clintons.
Yeah, we got you.
Yes, Andy?
You're back.
Okay, I guess I'm back. Anyway, so I don't know how many people are affected by this, but I know it's millions of people. Obviously, I know, but I don't know the exact number. And I can't see because my glasses are fogged up. And I don't know exactly how many inches of snow New York City got, but some areas got at least 18 inches of snow. You know, this is crazy trying to navigate this. I mean, literally mounds of snow. Your doggy gave out. He said, no more.
No more. He's done.
He's done.
Yeah.
The doggy's like, I'm done in this weather. You know what's interesting to me, Dave, and I'm being honest here. If you look at what happened with Mandelson, if you look at what happened with former Prince Andrew and others, just by the sheer association, and some of these folks have not been charged, but they were government officials or diplomats of some sort, and just because they're association, they have been arrested and pending investigation and pending charges, but nothing like that is happening here. I mean, as I am reading and listening to this story about NPR being played on cable, you guys talking about it, reading the actual report from NPR, I'm surprised that no one is being brought in and questioned about this. Why isn't anyone from the DOJ being questioned about this? Why isn't Donald Trump being questioned about this? These are very serious allegations. The British, they seem far beyond and much more amenable to holding people accountable than the United States of America, than our own Department of Justice.
Well, specifically, what Andrew and Mandelson have been brought in for is the investigation to whether they passed along proprietary government information to help Epstein make money. And that would be illegal here too. No matter what this DOJ is up for, maybe they wouldn't bring the case, but that's definitely not legal. People go to jail for that all the time. There hasn't been a connection drawn between Trump and Epstein in that way, because look at the timeline. Now,
but there are people who
it was Trump and Alex. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me jump. There are people who have had to step down from their roles.
Yes.
There are even government officials who have not been charged. They have had to step down from their roles because of just their mere association with Jeffrey Epstein. That's what I'm saying. And with these files. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. Yeah, I was going to say there's different tiers of interaction with Epstein that we've seen. We've seen people who exchanged emails with him, and this is after he was, I think most of the emails we're talking about are after he was a known sex offender. Those people have had to step aside. Bob Kerrey, the former senator from Nebraska, not engaged in anything improper with Epstein, just the connection he had with him. He's resigning from some positions he had today. If you look at the subpoena the House Republicans sent Bill and Hillary Clinton, who they're going to have testify in some form this week, their allegation to Hillary Clinton is just that, hey, you interacted with Ghislaine Maxwell, and you employed one of her relatives. Therefore, we need to know everything about this. So when they feel like it, Republicans and allies of the president can throw out that net and see what they find. It just, when it comes to the president and to top Republicans, they've been protecting them. But yeah, there are different tiers. There are people, any connection whatsoever that somebody has with him. Look, imagine anyone but Donald Trump being in his birthday book with a lurid joke to Jeffrey Epstein. The Republican response to that was that might have been faked, which was absolutely insane. I tried to be hyperbolic, but the idea that this document was faked 15 or whatever it was years ago, that's been their position with Trump. But you're right. Anyone who has even a hint of that kind of association, a friendship with Epstein, communication with him, doing him a favor in any kind of way, you're right. They are all having to answer for it. They're resigning from things. They're giving up their companies. They've not been turned into jail because we haven't seen the particular sort of financial crime that Mandelson's connected to. But you're right. Everyone else who's connected is having to suffer.
Look, I don't think that you are wrong. Let's talk about accountability, okay? And we can talk about the people here. You can remind us, Jolly, of some of the people who have been in the Epstein files and associated with Jeffrey Epstein. And look, they're in the files, and that appears to be enough for people who are in the UK just to open an investigation that you've had a relationship where you are that close to him. They're not saying what the evidence is. Some of these folks have not been charged, or he has not been charged officially with anything. The same thing happened with Prince Andrew. Former Prince Andrew wasn't officially charged, but they are investigating. They searched Mandelson's home. So you had Peter Mandelson. He stepped down from the Labor and House of Lords. He was arrested today in connection with the Epstein-related probe. Then you have the former Prince Andrew, who's a former UK trade envoy, reported, and this is from the New York Times, Andy, you can scroll through this, reported arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office tied to disclosures involving Epstein. Then you have Morgan McSweeney, who was the chief of staff to the UK Prime Minister, resigned following fallout connected to Epstein-related revelations. Now, this is just related revelations. You have Norway. Mona Jewel, Norway's ambassador to Jordan and Iraq, stepped down and was reported charged in connection with a corruption investigation linked to Epstein disclosures. And then you have the former Prime Minister Jagland from Norway, reported charge accusing Norway in relation to Epstein files investigation. You have Slovakia, National Security Advisor, former foreign minister, resigned after appearing in release files while denying wrongdoing. What is wrong with us? And these people are not in the Epstein file as much as Donald Trump and what's his name, Howard Lutnick, who lied about his relationship to Donald Trump. Well, probably that too, and Jeffrey Epstein, and was doing business with him. And this is allegedly after Jeffrey Epstein had been charged the first time.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's actually quite embarrassing that we have a guy in the White House who is, I refuse to say he's in the files. He is a co-sponsor of those files. He is a co-conspirator. Those are the Trump and Epstein files. To say that they're the Epstein files and he's in them is not properly identifying just how much he's in those files. Those are the Trump-Stein files. Trump and him were in cahoots. They were best friends. That was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. And they did these things together. And when you look at, it's kind of scary, Don, when you look at how many people that they had connections to. They were texting people, Jeffrey Epstein texting people during congressional hearings, world leaders making lunch dates with him and want to go to his island, and the amount of people he had influence and I dare say blackmail over, because what's in those files is enough to blackmail any world leader. And so you have this, the conspiracy theorists got it right. You have this secret cabal of billionaires running the world and trafficking children. The only thing is, the people that were pointing the fingers at the other side of the aisle were the ones doing it.
What else are you looking? What do you, take us forward, since you are going to be there? What do you think this president will focus on? Because he's not going to focus on his polling numbers. He's going to say those are fake. He's going to pretend the economy is good. He's going to say that tariffs are good, and that probably going to. What's going to be interesting to me is the very same members of the Supreme Court, presumably if they show up, will be there, the ones who rejected his tariffs and said that they were unconstitutional. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, first of all, I think it's going to be filled with lies and bluster, as we've seen in years past. I think you're going to see a president that is scrambling, a president that is very concerned. I mean, remember that Oval Office address that he did not too long ago, where he was speaking a million words a second. I mean, I think he is somebody that's very much understanding that his presidency is going off the rails here. So, he'll be in damage control. I'm sure he's going to try to come up with lies about how the tariffs have made this country stronger. And that's why I want to be there, to stand up and immediately to be able to go out to the press here at the Capitol and be able to rapidly respond and reject his lies, to be able to stand up against what he's trying to say. I'm sure he's going to say that he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for all the actions. And I want to talk about how I was at the Munich Security Conference last week and heard from so many leaders around the world about how appalled they are by America, how they are moving forward without us, and how they felt like his threats upon Greenland in particular was just a real breaking point, where they see America now no longer as the indispensable nation, but as the unreliable nation. That's what I want the American people to see, just how much damage this president has done and will continue to do.
I'm so sick of this administration, and this isn't like normal politics where you say you're sick of something and people say, oh my God, it's because you're liberal or you're a Republican. No, it's that this is a lawless administration that doesn't care about the Constitution nor the rule of law, and they don't care about hypocrisy. None of it. And specifically, I'm talking about Kash Patel. Kash Patel this week at the Olympics, he's the FBI director. I mean, why does the FBI director need to be there? Even perhaps he had some business there. I don't know. But still, why are you putting yourself in the middle of it? Can you imagine if Christopher Wray, the FBI director before him, had done this? They would be losing their minds. He decided that his contribution to American prestige would be pounding beers with the U.S. men's hockey team and mugging for the cameras and playing hype man while he's draped in his stolen valor, because he has nothing to do with their win. He's not on the team. He's not on any place anywhere that should have anything to do. He's not in a position in office that it would have anything to do with the Olympics. Security, perhaps, but not to be out front. The Olympics is supposed to be a stage for discipline, for sacrifice, patriotism. Patel turned it into a fraternity basement party. Between the private jet trips to WWE, the wrestling matches, rock concerts, endless VIP detours, podcast hits, Patel has begun to resemble a man racing through a fantasy checklist. Like, he's got to be here, he's got to be there. Like, who does he think he is? Because I want to bring in Dave Weigel, who's a Semaphore senior politics reporter, excuse me. Dave, and look, I know we didn't bring you on to discuss this, but it is breaking news. I wanted to get you in because I want to be respectful. If you care to comment on this, because this appears to be a significant development. I know that we brought you on to talk about, give us a preview of the State of the Union to look forward. But having seen this, I'm not sure if you've read it. Do you have any comment on it?
I'm not surprised, but I've just read NPR's reporting on it. But the administration has, from the outset, not been completely transparent and trustworthy about what it has. It's been deflecting. It's when pushed, Pam Bondi will say something, or Republicans beyond the DOJ, but the DOJ should be a little bit more even-handed. We'll just say, well, there were multiple presidents in charge during this investigation, so why are you pressuring us so much? Them not revealing everything. It's a cliche, but it's the cover-up, not the crime. They really are acting with impunity. If there's anything that they have withheld from the public, I think their hope is, well, we're in power. Nobody can indict us for it. Nobody can really challenge us for it. No one can challenge the president. No one can challenge Bondi. We're just going to wait this out for a couple of years. And I think maybe we'll get to Democrats in the State of the Union. Robert Garcia, the Democrats who want to take over oversight roles, in the next Congress, that's their only real way at this. And that's what they say all the time. We don't trust this administration's ability, one that has gotten rid of inspectors general even, to investigate itself or to be truthful about what's in these documents. They're going to keep asking. I have seen this more, covered it more as a political story, as something Democrats are talking about and running on. That's where I see it going. That there's very little trust in the public that this administration would ever reveal something that's harmful to the president. You saw yesterday, a Trump-appointed judge, Aileen Cannon, hiding Jack Smith's report for as long as she possibly can. So this strikes me as the same thing. I don't want to get too much in the details of Epstein, because that's not my beat. My beat in politics, that's the administration's theme. Just use their power to protect themselves.
Katie, that was so disingenuous. You know why Democrats voted either present or to have them, because they don't care that Bill Clinton is a Democrat. And if he did something, then they think, like, okay, fine. As I said, he should answer for it.
Yeah, and you know what?
But he said that the Democrats had just as many questions. They didn't start this investigation. It was Comer. And by the way, let me just put something up. Andy, do you have the video that I sent? Because I don't want it to get too far away from his voice. Do you have the video that I sent you? Because this is
Sorry, which one?
I just sent you something in the chat, but let me know when you get it. Go ahead, Katie.
I was going to say, look, the Clintons legally had analysis about the sufficiency of these subpoenas. In the end, they said, we'll do it. I don't need a staffer from Goober Comer to come out and tell me every hour what's happening. Why don't you just let it be public? Why don't you let me judge for my credibility? Because look, when you go to court and you're a judge or a juror, part of your job, if you don't have a jury and you're just the judge, or if you're a juror in a jury trial, for example, part of your job includes assessing the credibility of that witness. And part of that includes looking at body language, looking at the way that they testify. I understand that Comer says that a written transcript and the video of this deposition will be released later, but why not let us see it in real time, especially when the witnesses, the deponents themselves, the Clintons, have agreed to do it publicly. You know, it makes me laugh. I think, Hillary Clinton.
I can tell you why.
Well,
because they're afraid of being embarrassed. I think they're setting themselves up They think that they are getting, this is going to be a self-own.
Well,
That's
like
at the end of the day, I think
the
that's what
Jack
it is.
Smith one was. Jack
Like the
Smith
Jack
kicked their
Smith, right.
asses behind closed doors. But remember Hillary Clinton? She sat in 2015 for more than 9 hours. I mean, he's like, this is going to be a long day. And I love that he offers up Alex Acosta and Bill Barr. Bill Barr coming in and sitting down is what it is. Alex Acosta, he occupies a space in and of his own right that has nothing to do with being partisan, has nothing to do with him being a Republican. Alex Acosta was the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Florida that chose not to federally prosecute Jeffrey Epstein, gave him a non-prosecution agreement, helped negotiate his bullshit sweetheart deal with the state of Florida back in 2008. So Acosta, of course, had to come and answer questions. But you know who he then decided to channel as part of the reason why he wants to talk to the Clintons and specifically Hillary Clinton? Ghislaine Maxwell. She still hasn't testified, Dawn. What was it, 2 weeks ago? She invoked her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination? Like,
Right.
why is Comer holding up Ghislaine Maxwell as the, quote, chief co-conspirator? How does he even know that? He doesn't know that. I mean, there's all of these kind of self-declarations like Donald Trump. I'm exonerated. So if you have to be taking Donald Trump's word for it, why not accept the sworn statements under penalties of perjury that have already been submitted by the Clintons and let it go? Because if you find out later that they've lied, you can prosecute them, right? But no, you want to haul them for the show trial that you want it to be, which gets me to my final quick point. Democrats better be ready to lower the boom on accountability hearings and to make sure that they're fully investigating all of this horse shit when they're back controlling the levers of power, because this is a colossal waste of time.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Lemon Live at 5. It is indeed an honor to be joined by the great Lemon Nation. I have a show planned for you that you're really going to love. You know the first order of business, and that is hit the likes and the thumbs up, because that is what affects the algorithm, and more people become aware of our conversation. So I want to get to it as quickly as possible. So make sure you hit the like and the thumbs up, okay? And then tell me where you're streaming from, and then we're going to get to all of that. But I have very limited time with this person, and you want to hear from them. There are backbenchers, and then there are bomb throwers and flamethrowers, and then there is Congressman Al Green. For nearly 2 decades, a representative from Texas's 9th Congressional District has occupied I would consider it maybe a peculiar lonely lane in American politics. He's the moral absolutist who simply does not care whether what anyone thinks and what they think might be helpful. He's doing what is right for his constituents. He is a former justice of the peace, a longtime civil rights attorney in Houston, and he built a career less on cable hits than on stubborn procedural resistance. And that is why we are happy to have Congressman Al Green with us. Congressman from Texas, thank you so much for joining us. We are in your gratitude. We are indebted, and we have so much gratitude for you. So thank you for joining us. Last night, a lot of lies, a lot of untruths. I like what you did, though. I like that you stood up. Tell us about that. And thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I consider it a preeminent privilege to be with you. You have a storied history, and I must tell you that what happened to you is something that I try to follow and chronicle, and I hope that things will work out such that you will be kept in the high esteem that you've always been, and that we worship you almost. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Look, at the State of the Union last night, you attempted to remind Donald Trump, and I think that you did, that Black Americans are not monkeys. And what's more, it is that this is the second time that you have been ousted from the chamber during a Trump address. I want to show that moment, and then I want to get here's the photograph of you. And then I'm going to show that's you. Black people aren't apes. That's a sign that you had. And we know why you held that sign up is because he put on social media a picture depicting Michelle and Barack Obama as apes. And this was the moment last night.
And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back.
Why did you do it, Congressman?
I did it because President Trump, in doing this, has demeaned Black people. We have, over the years, had this caricature of us as being less than Homo sapiens, less than human, maybe a little bit above the ape, but less than human. And I wanted him to know that some of us will still take a stand against this kind of behavior. And I wanted to confront him. I didn't want to just tell him by way of some sort of written message that he would receive or possibly never receive. I wanted to be there, and pardon me for saying it this way, but in his face. I wanted to sit on the aisle. I knew that he would come right by me and it would afford me the opportunity to share the message with him. This message was simple, but it's true. The president rarely has an opportunity to be confronted. And I think that it made a difference. I noticed his demeanor when he saw it and he decided to make his way. It was something that impacted him. He needs to know that we are humans like everyone else, and we're entitled to the respect that he accords other people. This is all it happened to be for me, and I hope that it meant something to others.
Did you, when he walked in, you think he saw the sign?
I'm convinced that he saw it because I pulled it over such that he could, and he looked away quickly and walked away briskly to avoid having me say additional things to it. But he heard me say, Mr. President, Black people aren't apes. And this is important, Don, because the president is at the zenith. He is at the apex of the country for reasons associated with being president of the United States. But he doesn't behave well. He's at the apex. He has demeaned the country and the people to the extent that the discourse in the country is now in the gutter. People routinely now use profanity that they would not have used prior to his presidency. He has to stop this. He is harming society in doing what he does, but more specifically, he's harming people of color when he does these things. So we have to take him on, and I was proud to do what I did, and there may be consequences, but I've always said that you have to be prepared to suffer the consequences. John Lewis and I were friends. We went to jail together for protesting, and he reminded me that whenever you do this, you have to be prepared to suffer the consequences. I think it would be inappropriate in this case, however, because all I did was silently protest. My colleagues are the ones that created the disturbance when they tried to rip this away from me, when they were calling me out, as it were, in their opinion. This was their disturbance that was created, and I don't think that censure would apply to me, perhaps to them.
Some folks came out after when there was a break in the hearings, and Democratic leaders who came out. Let me hold on one second before I do that, Charles. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let me just look through this, and I want to say, I want to make sure. Let's go. So I want to go here. Back to the statement. Mr. Chairman, your investigation is supposed to be assessing the federal government's handling of the investigations and prosecutions of Epstein and his crimes. You subpoenaed 8 law enforcement officials, all of whom ran the Department of Justice or directed the FBI when Epstein's crimes were investigated and prosecuted. Of those 8, only 1 appeared before the committee. 5 of the 6 former attorneys general were, I'm glad she used attorney generals because I hate it when people say attorney generals. It's attorneys general. Thank you, Hillary Clinton. Attorneys general were allowed to submit brief statements stating they had no information to provide. You have had 0 public hearings, refused to allow the media to attend them, including today, despite espousing the need for transparency on dozens of occasions. You have made little effort to call the people who show up prominently in the Epstein files. Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Howard Lutnick, Steve Bannon. And when you did, not a single Republican member showed up for Les Wexner's deposition. That is an opening statement, and I'm not done yet. She's calling them out in the first couple of paragraphs, Charles.
She's absolutely challenging the legitimacy of this investigation in ways that are really important, because at the end of the day, you can say whatever you want to say, Don. I can say whatever I want to say. We can all be commentators from the outside. Now you're talking about someone who's been on the inside, who was subpoenaed and who cooperated with the subpoena, whose words will have a part in the official record in terms of exploring and noting for the public, illuminating for the public the inadequacy of this investigation and how it has truly and ultimately been a sham thus far. And so there'll be no room for people in hindsight to say, well, we don't really know where the investigation fell short. What Hillary Clinton has done in this letter is lay out very clearly the ways that this investigation has not only been one-sided, but completely lost entire credibility among what it is supposed to allegedly be doing. And so I think that not just for the American public, but for the preservation of the record, this letter is important. But if I'm honest, it does its job, but it's the responsibility, I said this before, of Democratic leadership to take the points that she has laid out, to take the dots that she has put forth and connect them for the American people, and to drive them home in a way that does not allow the GOP to simply continue to do this and to get away with it. She's done her part as someone who's on the inside. And now those other folks who are at the levels of power have to do their part to keep the pressure on so that they don't get away with this sham of an inquisition.
All right. Well, we're really just getting started. Politics on the stage, whether in the streets, media and power still circling each other. In the next drop that you'll see, the story shifts to the courts, depositions, and the people answering questions under oath, like a former president, a former first lady, senator, and secretary of state. I'm talking about the Clintons. We'll see you for the next drop. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.